We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Despite the slings and arrows of his own creation, Joe Biden still looks set to run for a second term in 2024. And no one else is as yet rising to take the nomination. But can he really still claim the mantle as the, and I use air quotes here, best person to lead the party to victory? Tim, I see scandal after scandal, crisis after crisis, and yet still his party, at least on the surface, supports him. What will it take for a Joe Biden downfall? What's your analysis?
Well, look, Joe Biden can make a very strong case that he beat Trump once, and there's no reason he couldn't beat him again or whoever his successor was. Now, if Trump isn't the candidate, which appears increasingly a shaky proposition for the Republicans, then it's kind of all bets are off. Would you want Biden up against Trump? Because as we pointed out earlier, Joe Biden is dull. But that's kind of what got him elected in 2020. Because if you wanted to sort of characterize the last 6 years of public perception of presidents, Trump too strong, Biden too weak, right? So, but that, you know, Biden has said consistently, including before 2020 and after, of course, that he asked the rhetorical question, who else is going to beat Donald Trump? Well, he still believes he's the only one who can beat Trump. But now that Trump isn't certainly the candidate and Trump sort of creates his own crises, would Biden be a good candidate against a polished, young, professional politician like Ron DeSantis? I mean, that's an entirely different proposition than running against Trump. So I think the Democrats feel they're largely stuck with him if he wants to run because they don't really have the stomach to tell a sitting president who took down the evil orange man that he can't run again. But they might try to convince him, or according to Scott's conspiracy theory, they've already done their dirty work by planting or revealing classified documents for their own president so they can force him out and get Gavin Newsom in to run in 2024.
To be fair to Scott's theory here, he didn't suggest that they planted the documents, merely that somebody actually told the media that they had found documents.
Right. Guess what?
Also, I'm not convinced that the people who really run things have settled on Newsom either. So that wasn't an intrinsic part of my theory. I'm open to the possibility that they are, but I haven't articulated that.
Well, I do that by process of elimination because who else is there? And
there is nobody else.
Don't give me Kamala Harris because she would lose. She would lose to a lamppost. So
that's because she is a lamppost.
But doesn't that show a distinct? Isn't it dangerous not to run Kamala Harris for the Democrats that for the last 2 years, 2.5 years really, have been saying that, you know, this a transition presidency and Kamala Harris is the right person to become the first change of immutable characteristics.
Pete Buttigieg has got to be out of it now because of this these multiple crises. I think she's been relatively quiet the past few months. She might be, the one they've picked.
Well,
I think they're going to cut their losses with Kamala Harris. I think they expected a lot from her that she did not have the ability to deliver on, and I think they realized this would be a horrible idea. And I think with Biden, I mean, you know, Biden may be the only one who could beat Trump, but I would actually reverse that. Trump is the only candidate that Biden could possibly beat. Like Tim said, if Republicans run somebody younger, like a DeSantis or somebody else, Biden doesn't stand a chance. So I still contend that he's not going to run for a second term. And it ain't going to be Kamala Harris. Gavin Newsom is the only one that we have left, unless we get like an Obama-type figure who comes out of nowhere and like shocks the nation and wins everybody over. Those are their only two chances.
If I may paraphrase Animal House to give a wonderful description of Kamala Harris, a bumbling drunk wine aunt is no way to go through life, Miss Harris.
Wine hand. That's very good. Well, they have to find a way, though. Look, they have to find a graceful exit with Kamala Harris, because remember why she was selected. It wasn't because she's, well, let's not go into all the things that she's not. Let's just say that the only thing that she represented was the right demographic profile, a Black woman. So if they're going to toss her off the ticket, there's only two ways to do it. Either Biden dumps her and gets someone else, or somebody else runs and just quietly lets Kamala Harris sort of go out to pasture. But if Kamala Harris runs, it's a certain defeat for the Democratic Party. I mean, I don't care who runs against her. So, would Biden, I think it's a good question. If Biden does run again, would he dump Kamala and pick somebody else who might be more appealing now that she's proven completely not up to the job?
Do you mean somebody
can't dump
more black and more woman?
You can't dump a woman of color unless you replace them with a woman of color or perhaps a trans woman of color. You got
you're right
on the woke scale with your replacement.
Well, there is Karine Jean-Pierre, who does add the added element of being a lesbian and being a foreigner who moved here. So she's got four things going for her. Maybe Karine Jean-Pierre. Or maybe...
in terms of getting coherent answers, I mean, I think the only person worse at giving a straight answer than Kamala Harris, or an understandable answer than Kamala Harris, is Karine Jean-Pierre. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You managed to pick the one black woman who was worse than Kamala Harris. I mean, that's true. I have to give it to you.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
At least Jean-Pierre is a black lady. Kamala Harris did not walk around the country as a black woman. She's not a black woman. I don't care what the media says. She's Indian-ish. She's got that pan-racial Benetton color thing happening.
Right. When it benefits her, she identifies as Asian.
Well, look, wait a minute. All of you
as black, and she celebrates Kwanzaa.
All of you are missing the obvious choice. It's Stacey Abrams. Yeah. She's available now.
Since she has always been available, Tim, because she continuously loses every election.
Let's see. Do you think Beto O'Rourke will challenge President Biden?
No, I think Tim probably has the right of this, that the only person who could really claim the mantle would be Gavin Newsom. I mean, he has, at least as far as Californians are concerned, except for the ones, of course, that have run away by the hundreds of thousands, a good policy background. And as you point out, he's good looking, he's articulate, and he has a very, very good media presence. And
he's got Hollywood looks, let's face it.
He does. But you know the saying, don't you guys? I mean, I'm from England, and I know this. Don't California insert your state here. There's 49 other states there, 50 if they get their way over in D.C. But surely that would be the rallying cry, wouldn't it, for every other of the states around the country?
Well, it probably would, but at the same time, you have to say that he can claim to run basically the world's seventh biggest economy, right, in California by itself. So he can say he has the governance, the governing experience, and historically, Americans tend to prefer governors over senators, although that has not been the case lately, of course, with Obama and Biden. They have been exceptions to the rule.
Listeners, let us know what you think. Thanks for listening. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. And that's about all we have time for on this week's edition of Liberty Nation Radio here on the Radio America Network. I'd like to say a special thank you to our panel guests, Tim Donner, Scott Cosenza, and Jeff Charles. And last but by no means least, I'd like to thank you, the listeners, for being here in Radioland and for taking the time to join us. I guess my parting shot for this week concerns bias. A notable man of letters, Samuel Johnson, noted that bias and impartiality is in the eye of the beholder. And it's hard to disagree. The left call out right-wing bias and the right call out left-wing bias. And they do seem to both be correct in some ways. The bias exists. It is fairly undeniable. But let us leave with the words of John F. Kennedy as he launched his presidential bid, when he said, "Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democrat answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future." Thanks for listening.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe
You only
space.
did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5.